Elden Ring is a game that is beautiful, fun, yet overwhelming at the same time. It gives the player a lot of choice, and with that choice, you can make a lot of mistakes early on that can make you really want to bash your head into a wall. But today in this video, I want to cover 5 mistakes you should try to avoid in your Elden Ring experience. These are mistakes that I have made and have realized that when I don't make these, or if I wouldn't have made these, my playthrough so far would have been way smoother. With a lot of people joining in on the Elden Ring hype and trying the game out, I've seen a lot of people disappointed with their playthroughs, including myself. But when I went back and tried some different things and learned from my mistakes and took different approaches, it improved my Elden Ring experience from wanting to get a refund to wanting to play it a lot more. Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for the support, and the YouTube members. If you want to check out all the links, my website, brahwegotthis.com, Twitch channel, twitch.tv/brahwegotthis, Tuesday through Friday, we stream there, or our Discord. Check out all those links below in the description. The first mistake I want to talk about is not skipping the tutorial. The tutorial in Elden Ring is something that you can easily miss, just like I did in my first time ever playing the game. Granted, that made for some hilarious footage of me getting the crap beat out of me for the next 2 hours, but missing the tutorial will skip some important mechanics that you can learn with some easier bosses. The tutorial is right here. As soon as you come in, you talk to this guy, and he talks about plunging and all that other stuff. I did not do this before, but you can hop down right here, and this will be sort of like a tutorial area that will go through what buttons mean and all that good stuff. It's seriously something that I did not realize. See, it pops up things like this, Sites of Grace. You can rest at these, and it gives you little tooltips that help you throughout your playthrough. This will be an easier transition instead of coming out of the door and getting flattened by this guy. Oh, frick. Oh my, okay. How do you dodge? B? The second mistake that you should be wary of is not trying other classes. I again chose what I felt to be a decent looking class, and boy was I wrong. I couldn't use this class to save my life. I was whiffing attack after attack with this Viking looking guy. So how Elden Ring or Dark Souls type games are set up when it comes to difficulty, it's not through a traditional difficulty setting, but it's set up through classes that you play. So the class with just a torch called the Wretch is something that's going to obviously be very, very hard to play and harder for new beginners or new players versus experienced players in Elden Ring. So that's how they set up class difficulty or game difficulty, is they have you choose certain classes. I found that the mage or range classes suited me better and are overall usually easier for newer players for this type of entry of game. So I went back and I picked a mage class, and I have already completed the first boss. This is something you can't be afraid to do because literally I went from wanting a refund to wanting to play more, like I said in the intro. The next mistake is don't skip dialogue. A perfect example of this was the first area that I was in. I talked to that guy and I skipped it at the beginning of the tutorial along with various other dialogues, and I had no idea what I was doing. If you play MMORPGs or games with quests that usually don't have any sort of weight or meaning to them and you're just skipping them, sort of like Lost Ark where you press the G key over and over and over again, skipping dialogue is not like that in this game. You have to pay attention to the dialogue, and the way Elden Ring and From Software games are set up is it gives you minimal direction. So they give you hints at what you need to do, and they let you, the gamer, decide on that. So you need to actually read and look at the dialogues to see like areas that you should look out for or what they're trying to tell you. So don't try to rush through that dialogue like you're playing an MMORPG. The next big mistake is thinking you have to defeat a boss in an area before you can leave. What I like a lot about Elden Ring is you don't have to take this linear path like in Dark Souls. Since the world is open, you have a lot of different options. You may explore one side of the map, and that side is F you up special, but the other side of the map may be easier. But it doesn't mean you can't go around and farm to get stronger and come back to an area that you couldn't beat earlier. The perfect example of this is the first boss. So if you didn't know, in Elden Ring, the yellow wisps that you see here lead you to sort of like the main quest or where it wants you to go. So you'll see it's telling you to go up, then it's telling you to come around this way, and then these are pointing this way, and then they're kind of going over here. So I'm assuming this one will kind of probably go pointing somewhere over here, right? Well, that's what those wisps mean. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that you can do the content that it's pointing you to. You may have to actually level up. You may actually have to get some better things for it, right? So if you strictly follow this path, by the time you get to the first boss, you are probably going to get smacked, unless you are an elite Souls player, in my opinion. Once you realize this, that you probably are under leveled because you're barely doing any damage to him and he's like almost like two-shotting you, this is when you have to realize it's okay to go farm mobs of enemies or go explore. You can farm these mobs of enemies and go back to your sites of grace, and you can use your currency or points or whatever you want to call it to level up your skills, okay? These are runes that you get from killing enemies. This is where you can make yourself stronger, make yourself do more damage, boost your defenses, all that good stuff. In other words, there's nothing wrong with going back to a campfire or a site of grace and just farming a mob in a loop. Because remember, every time you sit or rest at a site of grace, that resets the mobs in the game. So right here, there's gonna be some mobs up this hill that you'll see coming down. If I were to kill these and then I sit back at that grace, that would reset these mobs and I can keep farming them for currencies and all that good stuff, right? So that is nothing to be ashamed of. If you have to do this, then do it, because it will allow you to get currencies and it will allow you to get better things that will allow you to beat bosses and get past certain areas. It does not have to be ultra linear. Fighting these mobs will also give you knowledge on mechanics and fighting and make you get better, which leads to the next mistake, and that is do not mash buttons in combat. This isn't Diablo, Lost Ark, ESO, Destiny, you name it. This is a whole different breed of game. It is more similar to Monster Hunter, but still it's harder in my opinion than Monster Hunter, and the key to this game is patience. You cannot just walk up and start attacking 100% of the time. You have to learn how to dodge, block, and roll. You can roll through a lot of attacks in this game so far, and something that I learned is waiting a little longer to roll than you think can really help you. On the first boss, he does this move where he delays his strike, so it fools you into rolling, and then the game gets you and actually attacks you and you get hit right into it. Elden Ring is something that you really have to be patient with. If you keep making that mistake, you're going to have a rough time and get frustrated and probably quit. And if you want to watch me rage and see my first time playing this game, watch me make all the mistakes I just talked about up in the video above here. It's hilarious. The editing is great by our editor, Aiden Thief of Fire. What? Dude, these bosses are insane. But until next time, y'all, just remember, have faith, be great, and I'll see you guys on Elden Ring, ESO, whatever game I'm playing.